Hello, my name is Samantha Uribe. My pronouns are she, her. I live on the east coast of Canada, in the island of Newfoundland. I am a 26-year-old undergrad student doing a double Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and English. Well, I identify as a woman. However, I guess my womanhood experience kind of differs a little bit because I'm still very tomboyish, if I may say so. Um, like I still enjoy wearing all my older clothes, but yeah, I identify as a woman. A lot of my character has been shaped by hard times. Um, First, my parents' divorce. Like I said, it was very dramatic. I'm not gonna get into details, but it was very overly dramatic. Um, that shaped me a lot in my character, and that made me realize that family is a very important part of our lives. And family is not always blood. Family is the people who are around you, who love you, and who will support you. It's not always blood. That was one lesson that I learned. And when I transitioned and I met my husband, it was very early in my transition. I realized that yes, everybody is worthy of love. We all are. And I know as a young transgender woman or trans person, I thought the same thing as everybody else, that I was gonna be alone, that this was it. But that is not true. Things do get better. Hard times come and go, but I learned that the darker the night, the closer we are to the morning. So first, I should start. I grew up in Chile. I was 8 years old when I moved to Canada. First, I moved to Montreal, and then I moved to Newfoundland at age 13 back in 2012. I grew up in a Christian family, Christian household, Presbyterian. As a teenager, I was questioned my gender. I questioned a lot of things as a teenager. I questioned my identity, my sexuality. I remember during my teenage years, I decided to grow my hair up and start wearing makeup. Not inherently feminine, but I kind of liked feeling a bit more feminine in that way, and it never clicked on me. My mom, she's probably the best person I know. She has always been a really good ally of minorities, and she has known many LGBTQ folks ever since she was growing up herself. So she already had an idea about the community and all that. However, growing up, I never came out at all because I was not even aware of my own identity or sexuality. At the time, my parents had gone through a very messy divorce, which kind of made me feel like I had to grow faster. And because of that, I lost a huge part of my teenage years. I stopped I stopped questioning my gender, I stopped questioning my sexuality, and I had the mindset that now I have to take care of mom and my siblings. And I put pretty much my life on pause for everybody. As soon as I came out of high school, I started working. Um, I I joined the armed forces for a little bit. I became an automotive technician, and when I went back to school first time, I went to Academy Canada and do the automotive service technician program there. That gave me a little bit more time to think about myself because I was a bit more free, and also my siblings were older. My mom was a bit more independent. So I had a lot of time to myself, and I felt I kind of had like midlife crisis at 23, where I started questioning everything, and I the fact, and I started thinking that I lost I lost part of my teenage years. That's when I realized that I lost that, and that depressed me. So after I finished the academic Canada program, I started working again. This time as a proper automotive service technician, and around this time is when I started actually exploring different clothing again. I started talking to people online. I started talking to people in person. I started dressing more feminine in private, um, and I found that I liked it. I really really liked it. I liked it when people on the online would refer to me as she. Um, I talked to a couple people. The first person I talked to was my brother. Um, and by the time I realized that I was trans, um, I was already well into the industry, um, and I didn't know how to come out. I was in a male-dominated industry, so I didn't know how to do it. I was scared. I didn't know how to tell my parents, my mom in particular. Uh, so I stayed quiet for about a year before I finally came out to my mom and my siblings, and I finally started dressing the way I wanted to. I asked them to call me Sam, which was named not Samantha, Sam, which was the name I was going for at the time. And I remember I came out in a Facebook post publicly because my family is still in Chile. So I came out fully to everybody, and everybody was really nice. The name Samantha actually came from my niece, because when I made my husband right now, um, I had met his family, and his niece had asked me what my name was, and I said Sam, and she mistook it for Samantha. So I decided to use that, and now I tell everybody that my niece is the one that gave me my name. There's a lot of challenges. Um, I'm 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 very lucky with how my family took my transition, uh, because even my mom had a little bit of time getting around it, um, but she was always very accepting, and the first thing she said is that she still loved me no matter what. There's a lot of challenges, however. For one, when I started identifying as woman, um, it seemed like my knowledge of automotive service mechanic went out the window for everybody else, because everybody now started condescendingly um, explaining to me how to do stuff that I've done 100 times before. So that was something I had to deal with. I've obviously had to deal, unfortunately, with people are who are transphobic. I've I've dealt with a lot of trying to change my name in Newfoundland. It is a fairly easy process, but it was not as easy for me because I'm not from Canada. Uh, so trying to change it, I had to prove my citizenship. Um, Life now has a lot of different challenges. I'm in a I'm in a place right now where I'm very well situated. I have a good support behind me, but I've had to deal with hate, especially online. I've had to deal with people not believing in me. I found that I have to prove myself twice as hard. And that kind of opened my eyes to how the world works. I feel a lot more free. Um, I smile a lot more. I've been told. Um, I'm a lot more social. I became pretty much a social butterfly in contrast to the way I was before. So, um, and being able to be myself has allowed me the mental space to pursue the things I want. And that's when I realized I wanted to pursue post-secondary education and someday become a teacher. And if it was if it wasn't for my husband who encouraged me throughout my transition, um, I wouldn't be here right now. So I owe it to him uh, where I am right now. But that's how things have gotten better for me. I feel happier, better, more social, and more confident. So my life right now I'm still studying again. Um, I live with my husband and his family, uh, 10 minutes away from my mom, who I try to visit every now and then and have a cup of tea. Um, I have finally been able to get um, the help I was able to get I needed. I learned that I have ADHD, which was not surprising at all. But but having an official diagnosis has helped me a lot, and in learning about myself and also managing my time. Um, Still trying to get better, but at least it's working. So right now I'm in a very, very good spot. How did I meet my husband? We met through Tinder. Um, I'll say it right now. We talked over Tinder for about a period of almost a month. We were just exchanging memes. We were talking. We were just telling each other how much we loved horror movies. Um, and we had our first date on July 14th, 2023. Um, I was late for that date, uh, as per as per my personality. Um, and I want to say it was kind of love at first sight because I came in. I remember I asked, "Is is this person here? Is Ed here?" And they 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 directed me to the table that he was waiting me. He was waiting, and he came to me. He greeted me, treated me very nicely. He was a gentleman from the start. Um, and we talked, we had a pizza. He paid for the date. He did not let me pay because he said it was his idea. So he was gonna pay. Uh, so after the date, we went out for a walk. We talked a little bit. And at the end of the night, I asked him, because I've been on dates before him, and every single date it was always somebody asking me. It was always somebody other interested in me because they were bisexual, or because I don't know. They've never been with a transgender woman before. There was always something. They were always interested in me being trans. At the end of the night, I asked my husband, at the time, not my husband, but I asked him, I was like, uh, aren't you gonna ask me about when did I transition? Like, you know, I'm like very early in my transition. And he looked at me and said, to be honest, that never crossed my mind because to me, you are a woman. And just like any other woman, I was just not gonna ask. Um, and that response told me that he was a lot more interested in me as a person than one side of me, just one side of my personality. He wanted to get to know me, not not just not just my me being transgender. He wanted to get to know me, and that's how it started. Next day, he invited me to his house. I met his I met his family of 10 people. They all live in one house. um, we started dating on August 2023. We moved in. We moved in a couple months after that together. Um, and on June 26, 2024, he proposed to me finally. Um, and I mean, it was beautiful. My wedding happened at our home actually, the family home. Um, we moved the date a couple times around because we were thinking June 24th. Then at some point we thought about January 2026. We settled for August 19th this year. Um, and we talked about a lot. We were planning it. His mom was helping a lot with planning. Um, and the day off, I'm not gonna lie, I got nervous. I got I got very nervous. I got anxious. Um, I remember being on my wedding dress, and I remember being in a room away from where we had set up the altar, and my father-in-law is the one that walked me down the aisle. My father has not been in the picture in a long time. So I started I started crying and I started getting nervous and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm about to get married. I'm about to get married." And my father-in-law looked at me and said, "Relax, calm down. You love him, don't you?" And I said, "Yes, relax. It's gonna be okay." And so he brought me down the aisle, and as soon as I saw my husband for the first time in that day, because I never saw him before then, um, I I cried. It was waterworks. I cried. He cried. My mom cried. Pretty sure the dog cried. Everybody cried. Um, we and the ceremony went smoothly. It was beautiful. Um, we exchanged the rings, and by the time the ceremony was over, I remember we went back to another room, and I looked at my husband and I said, "Holy shit, we're married." And he looked at me. He's like, "Yes, we are." It's like, "Oh my God, we are married." And I just hugged him, man. I remember everything. The wedding we had lilac purple theme on the wedding, um, kind of like with a little bit of green, kind of like fairy style. Um, I remember where everybody was seated. I remember how the day was going. It was raining, which I've been told is good luck. Um, I remember I remember every detail. I remember where the food was. I remember where everything was that day. It was perfect. It was perfect. Um, it was well, yeah, it was. I'm gonna say something very cheesy, but it was the best day of my life. And I mean, I'm pretty sure my husband would say the same thing. But yeah, it's it was a really nice day. There's been a lot of surprises. For one, um, I was kind of expecting to still have dysphoria. Um, I did not expect it to be stronger, even though I was told it was probably gonna be stronger. But also, it is not as frequent, so that is very nice. Um, I did not expect to still want to dress in man clothes, and even when I'm dressed like that, I did not expect people to still uh, identify me as a woman, which is a very nice surprise. Um, I did not I did not expect to find somebody. Uh, that was a great surprise. Um, I I did kind of expect the I did kind of expect changes in my social life. I did expect when I started medical HRT, I did expect changes in my body. Um, I did not expect some changes of that, such as like drier skin, or or I don't know, dry hair. But some changes are very welcoming. So there's been a lot of changes. There's been really nice surprises. There's been a lot of things I did and did not expect. First things first, I need to finish my degree, so that's one thing that's on my future. Once I finish my degree, I need to keep studying to become a teacher, get a master's, and my hope someday is that my husband and I will be able to have our own home someday. Uh, and I don't know, maybe have a family and live in that house and be able to work as a teacher, eventually a professor, but first as a high school teacher. If I could tell something to my younger self 10 years ago, um, it would be it gets better. It gets a lot better. My I was a very depressed kid, and I was a very depressed young 20-year-old adult. If I could tell something to my 16-year-old self who's just recently lived through my parents' divorce, I would tell him it gets a lot better. Life gets a lot better. There's so much that we have yet to experience. For people who want to be allies, educate yourselves. Don't just say that you support trans people or that you and just leave it at that. Educate yourselves. Make sure you know like the community. Make sure you know some trans people if you can meet them. Um, learn about us. Learn about our struggles. Learn about how our lives are. Don't just say, don't just say, oh, I like the trans community and just leave it at that, because that is just not enough.